Welcome back to my channel, or welcome for the first time. This is my December wrap-up. First up we have Broken Things by Lauren Oliver. I gave it 4 stars. Finally got around to reading it. It's supposed to be inspired by the whole Slender Man situation with the kids, with the girls. And so when I read it, it does sort of remind me of it, but they have to remember, and here they have to remember it's not, I mean, they know that they didn't do it, but they're trying to figure out who did it, who done it. So follows 4 characters. One, the 2 girls are friends with the girl that died as a sacrifice. And the boy that was blamed, but ended up not going to prison because there was an alibi. I did enjoy it, obviously, because I gave it 4 stars. But I was sort of expecting a bit more. I don't know, I feel like now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I would put it to 3.5. But I mean, it was decent. I've read Lauren Oliver's other stuff, and while I do enjoy her type of like mystery thriller type books, it's not like extreme mystery thriller type books. I don't know how to explain it. Next up we have Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. This is the 2nd book in the Red Queen series, saga series thing. I reread the Red Queen, because I read Red Queen when it first came out, but that was so long ago, and I continued buying each release, but I never got around to reading them. And I knew I had to reread Red Queen, even though I knew like some stuff. Like I really vividly remember the beginning, but I just needed to reread it. So I reread it in November, and I finally listened to this in audiobook during December. But Squid sadly did not have King's Cage available, and then till like the 19th of December. But by then I was on like my winter break, where I didn't do anything for like 2 weeks. And typically I listen to audiobooks, because I'm currently listening to King's Cage now on Overdrive on audiobook, because now I'm back to babysitting. I'm going to and fro from places while I'm like feeding the child. I'm listening to the audiobook. Like, I have to be doing things in order to listen to the audiobook. I can't just sit there and listen to the audiobook at home while those 2 weeks were happening of me doing basically nothing, because obviously with COVID happening, I'm not going outside really. I gave it 4 stars. I did enjoy it. I mean, Mare, I like Mare. Unreliable type of character. Like, obviously she's not insane, but her judgment is like not great. Obviously she's influenced by her path that's happening. You know who I don't like? Which they do introduce, I'm pretty sure they introduce her in this book. Yeah, they do. And I'm not really liking her in King's Cage. It's the little brat. I don't like the little brat. Mare also doesn't like her. I think she's not snobby. They're schnashy. It's from Crazy Rich Asians, the scene played through my head. Next book is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. So I gave her 4.5 stars. And you would think that my favorite character would be Nathan from this series, because, you know, he's my weakness. Black-haired, blue eyes. But it's actually Styles. Which, yes, from Teen Wolf, he is my, I love him so much. But no, Silas. I really love Silas. He had me at the moment where she was like sick. Well, it's like where he really had me. Obviously, there was moments where I was like, that's hot, but like I really didn't think anything of it until the moment where, you know, she's sick because she's like been living out in the streets for a while. She's been disquoted as, you know, being a librarian. She escaped from an insane asylum. I mean, she wasn't really in there for long. I'm not trying to give away too many spoilers. But she was being cornered by these ruffians that were either about to try something and then kill her, or just kill her in general. And earlier when she was being chased by them, she had, because she was like, she saw Silas in the crowd and she said his name, and then yeah, she was being chased by them and she got cornered in an alleyway and she had like a board with nails in it and she like whacked like the first guy in the face, and he's like, oh, you stupid like bitch, like blah 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 blah, and but his companions aren't joining him. Like, they're not in the alley with him, and he's like, where the fuck are they? And then so you hear a voice that says, I don't think they'll be able to join. And then whew, Silas comes in, and like he has blood on his hands, and I'm like, whew, that's hot. I just have a type for murderous people. So yeah, and obviously he dispatches the guy, and she's horrified, but I'm like, ugh, do it again. And obviously he can transform into a cat, so like he's husband material in my eyes. Honestly, if I ever get a white cat that has like golden eyes, I'm naming it Silas. Yeah, Silas has been added to my book boyfriends. So next up are all the mangas that I read in December. You pretty much know from my book haul what books I read. 7 days, Monday through Sunday. As I explained in my book haul, it's each Monday, whoever finds them first and asks them out, he says yes, and he'll date them for a week. And then, but he always ends up breaking up with them and never talks to them again. So as a joke, he asks him out because he accidentally was the first person to see him for the first day on Monday. And obviously he accepts, but he doesn't know that it was like serious until like the next day when he realized. But yeah, I gave it a 5-star rating, so I recommend that you read it. Next up we have After Hours, Volume 1, 2, and 3. This is a yaoi novel series, trilogy. There are sort of sex scenes, but it's more like the outline of their bodies and like their nipples aren't there. But I really enjoyed it. I felt like it felt like an actual relationship I was reading about. And it sucks that this is the last volume, because the way they ended it, I feel like should have a 4th volume. I highly recommend anyone to read this, and as I said, they're all 5 stars. So, Bird of the Feathers, also gave it a 5 stars. It says explicit content, but there's none in the first volume. I'm sure probably later on in the series when the relationship grows closer to each other, but there's no explicit content in this first volume. There is he's not that old. He's like, I think 20, and he's supposed to be 17 or 18. But they didn't say that at first. All they showed is that he was in high school and that he was out of high school. He was a private detective, or supposed to be like a private detective. Yeah. So at first I was like, oh my god, are we having an adult teenage relationship? Because I am so not down for this. Because I like to go into things blind, especially when I buy books. So I didn't exactly read the back about it. I just knew that he talked to birds, and that the bird sounds like him, and that's all I knew about it. I did not know that he was technically older. I just assumed they both were in high school or both older. But thankfully, they do mention that he's like 20 and he's like 18, so he's, close in range, and he's technically legal, so it wasn't weird about it. So yeah, gave it a 5 stars. Next we have I Married My Best Friend to Shut My Parents Up. Gave it 5 stars. As the title says, she marries her best friends to shut her parents up because her parents kept on trying to get her on to like blind dates, and like, when are you getting married? You're 20 something years old. And she doesn't care. She has a career. She doesn't feel like she needs to be with someone. So her best friend mentions, we should get married to shut your parents up. And when I bought this book, I didn't think anything of it, but when I started reading it, and they mentioned like where they would go to get married, and I remember, I'm like, oh yeah, same-sex marriage isn't a thing in some countries. So what they mentioned, that there is a place where it's sort of like marriage, that same-sex couples can get married at. I don't know if that's true, if that's real. they get married. Obviously, there's gonna be some love. I give it 5 stars. I don't know if I mentioned that. So I got volumes 1 and 2 of Love in Limbo. I gave both 4.5 stars. The reason why I didn't add an extra 0.5 is because I really did like it, but I felt like something was missing. I don't know. Well, maybe I know. The thing that was missing, I felt. I mean, typically with yaois, there isn't. Well, typically they take place in our time and day, so there isn't really a need to world build. But I felt like there should have been more world building. Like, I wanted to know more about the angels and, like, what the fuck? Like, tell me more about this world. I did enjoy their relationship a lot. It was very consensual. I did enjoy that. So yes, there is explicit sex scenes, but it's not as much as a lot of yaoi I've read. The reason I bring that up about it being consensual is because I will have time to tell you when to skip in the video to make sure if you're triggered to RAPE to skip, like to talk about it. I'll put a timestamp of where to go so you don't have to listen to this. A lot of times, I should first state what the star rating I got. I gave it a 2-star rating. I was tempted to give it a 3-star rating because I did at least sort of enjoy up till the moment it happened. But then I decided, no, I'm gonna put this fucker down to 2. The only reason I didn't bring it down to 1 is because, as I said, I did enjoy it up to the moment where he straight up, oh my god, I knew when it was gonna happen. I knew it was gonna happen. Basically, there's a moment that's also, I guess, spoiler warning to skip as well. My battery is about to die, so some of my explanation got cut off, but basically what happens, there's domestic abuse that did happen before he proceeded to rape him. So yeah, not fun. But I will read the second and third volume because I do own them. I just wanted to have some space between me reading the first volume to me reading the second one. Lastly, I have Coyote volumes 1 and 2. I need to end up getting a memory card that has some more memory. I mean, I need to get a larger memory card. I had one on my Christmas list, but no one ever bought it for me. Anyway, okay. So I cut off when I was introducing these books, and I talked about them for no fucking reason. Basically, this reminded me so much of reading like werewolf Wattpad novels, and it was very nostalgic for me, and I highly enjoyed it. I gave these like 5 stars. If you're interested in it, you should read this. I think the third volume's coming out, or the third volume may be coming out on the 20th of this month. So I may not be getting it now, but I'll probably get it in February because I just bought these 2 very expensive pins and I need to not buy anything for the rest of this month, really. Yeah, highly enjoyed these. I think you should read them. I'm super, I totally forgot, even in my Instagram post, I forgot to put the books in there because I don't own them. I totally forgot about my library books that I read. So I'm going to like look off of my phone and tell you what books that I read at the library. Because my editing software was already programmed onto my computer, so I don't know if it's high-tech enough to have like a photo of a book cover. So I hope I'm in perfect view. I just feel like the camera's closer than normal. Also hope that I am in focus as well. So the first book is I Am a Hero. I gave it, as you can see, I gave it 3-star rating. It's interesting. I liked it. I think it's sort of creepy, you know how the zombies are. But there's moments where I was like this. I don't know, this is weird. Especially in one of the other volumes where he was like, when he meets that little girl and like that one older guy's like, you make a cute couple, and I'm like, dude, she's a high schooler. Like, I don't even think she may be a high school. No, she's not in middle school, but she's a high schooler, and he's in his what? I'm guessing late 20s. Nah. Then the next one I read is obviously volume 2. These are all by Kingo Hanazawa, I think. As well, I gave this 3 stars. Like, it was good, but, you know, some things was really weird. I did enjoy while it was more apparent in the first volume, the fact of his mental illness of being so scared that he can see things, he's hallucinating things. It doesn't appear as often later on in the volumes. I mean, I've only read up to 4. Next volume is number 3 of I Am a Hero. Gave it 3 stars, basically my same thoughts as before. And volume 4, same star rating, like 3 stars. I mean, maybe 3.5, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't want to give any spoilers, but you know about the girl. I find her situation interesting. I wonder if this will affect others as well. And sadly, my library doesn't have any more volumes. They just only had up to 4. So next volume is Bloom Into You, Volume 1. I gave it 3-star rating. It's a Yuri. It's interesting. If my library continues to get more volumes, I will continue reading them. It's an alright Yuri. There's not really any romance at all so far. Then I also read Volume 2 of Bloom Into You. There's a little more like interest towards on the other girl, sort of. But I gave it a 4-star rating. Trying to remember why I did that. Next up, I read Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Rift, which contains volumes 1 through 3 of The Rift. I gave it a 4-star rating in total. Once more, I don't know. I mean, I love Avatar: The Last Airbender. I never watched the spin-off series. The next series, what is it called? The Korra, Legends of Korra, I think. Anytime I ever started watching the first episode, when I look at Korra, I get so incredibly sad that I almost start crying, because I know Aang, in order for her to be alive, Aang has to be dead. And I'm like, no! I refuse to accept that. So I've never watched Legend of Korra, but I do know like the very ending of when they hold each other's hand and go into a light, and also know that she severed her connection to the spirit world, or her past selves. Anyway, so I like that these books continue off of how the 3rd season of Avatar: The Last Airbender ended. Next up we have Avatar: The Last Airbender, Smoke and Shadow. I gave it a 4-star rating. A 4-star rating. Same. I mean, this one... I mean, yes, I gave it the same star rating, but this one I didn't care as much as... Probably my favorite one out of the like, the books that can only come after the season 3. Probably is the first one's my favorite, because we get to find out what the fuck happened to... I almost said Zeus. What happened to Zuko's mom? Because I remember, before I knew about these books, I remember when the season 3 ended off, I'm like, but what about Zuko's mom? Like, what the fuck? You can't just give me 3 seasons. So I'm really happy that these books cover the rest. Next, I read The Demon Prince of Momochi House. I gave it a 3.5-star rating. I enjoyed it. It was, you know, a nice, like, starter to the series. Next was Volume 2. Gave it a 3.5-star rating. Volume 3 went up to a 4-star rating. Volume 4 it's at a 4-star rating. Volume 5 gave it a 4-star rating. Volume 6 was a 4-star rating as well. And then finally Volume 7 was a 4-star rating. And that's, I think that was, yeah, that's the last of what I read from my library. Cut back to yesterday me. So that is all my books I read in December. Thanks for watching if you stayed all the way to this moment.